Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Systeme.io podcast with me, Natasha Pinto. Today, our guest is Paul Murphy. He's an entrepreneur, YouTuber, affiliate marketer, and online course creator with a wealth of digital marketing experience. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm really excited to have you on. I think our audience is going to get so much from what you've got to share. But the first thing I like to ask our guests is to kind of take us through your history. Where did you think you were going with a career, and how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, so I started in 2002, and I was originally I was ranking websites. So I was putting up websites on Google, and then they had all these penalty slaps over the years. And then I think it was April 2016, I noticed that YouTube had started putting videos on the front page of Google. And sorry, 2017, it was the 6th of April, because I'll never forget it, because I actually contacted my ad manager at the time and I was like, you've removed all my websites, but these videos are appearing. So how can I actually take advantage of that? And then he said that he thought that everything was going to be more based around video in the next few years. So I was like, oh, I made a mental note. I was like, wow. Okay, so right now, like obviously we can put videos on the front page of Google. We can turn any product into a video format, right? And nobody seemed to be doing it. It was kind of like they were just pushing the odd YouTube video to the front page of Google. And I sort of tried to speak to a few of the people that were doing it back then, and they didn't really know how to do it. So it was kind of then left for me to figure it out. So I kind of went all in with that as an affiliate marketer. I was kind of, because I'd been marketing for since 2002, I had, there's lots of different tools and softwares and things that I was using. So I just started to recommend that to people and then put those listings on the front page of Google in front of people that are actually looking for them. And then, then it exploded. Then everything kind of took off. And that's kind of been my journey now since 2017.
Well, that's a fantastic way to get started, I think, in online business, because you've kind of been entrenched in, it from the website all the way to now sitting on YouTube. And the fact that you're recommending software that you use, stuff that you've used, it works, you're willing to recommend it. I think that's like an ethical way of going about affiliate marketing, which is not something that we generally see all the time out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I personally, a lot of people will go to places like ClickBank and do stuff like that. Generally, I don't do that, and I don't recommend that to people. I say to people, it's just because obviously it's a sea of people out there, and they're trying to promote stuff. And if you've got some sort of knowledge, or if you own the product or you're using it, and generally you just like it, you actually genuinely have some sort of feeling about it, then I find that it comes across, and people kind of pick up on that. So yeah. And personally, it's just more from it's not the only way to do it, and you can actually promote products without actually even owning them. But just from a personal perspective, obviously that was just easier for me to do it that way, because I was like, well, hang on a minute, I'm using this product. This is the results I'm getting. And when I use a product as well, I usually get loads of ideas, and I think, this could really help someone in this area, or this could help over here. So that's generally how I do affiliate marketing, just sort of kind of as a natural process, really, more than anything else.
I think, like you said, it's a good way to go about it, because you know it intrinsically and you've used it, and there's that sincerity, like you said, that pulls through in the way that you market it. Now, one of my questions I like to ask is kind of to get a comparison. So how are you doing when you started with ranking websites? What kind of money were you making? And then how was the transition from that after they started slapping those penalties and playing with the algorithm? How was the transition from that to what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, in 2002, I was working in insurance before in another life, right? I'm just turned 50 this year. So up until the age of 30, I was actually working in insurance. I've been doing that for 10 years. And so I didn't have any real transferable skills to start a business. And not many people that I knew were starting a business. So it was kind of like I needed an idea. So I come up with this idea to become a wedding planner. I don't know where I got it from. I'm not quite sure, but I thought I'd be able to figure it out, right? And I quit my job. I was actually kipping on my friend's floor, and I'd sold my house as well at this time, and I'd got a small amount of money. So I had this office, but I had to have an office because my friend didn't have any space at his place for me to work. So I had this office, and it had 3 flights of stairs, and I would basically be in this office every day, trying to think of ways to promote this. it took me about 3 months to build a website, which back then we used to use something called Microsoft Front Page, which was, yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of, it took me ages just to figure it out. But websites were kind of crude, so you could get away with it, right? If you got something up, that was good enough, right? So I went around wedding fairs handing out leaflets, and this woman came in and she was like, you know, are you going to match the drapes with the napkins? Are you going to, you know, have the color coding on the cake? And I was kind of like, I didn't have a clue what she was talking about. And because I've never been married, and I just thought I would get a discount on a dress or something. I don't know. I didn't know what I thought. And then I kind of went white as a sheet, and she left really quick. And then I realized that I was kind of left with a website, and it was actually ranking. It was ranking all over the world. It was actually a local business, but Google kind of used to just rank your website anywhere, really. It was kind of a bit random. And but I had all this traffic, but I didn't have a business. I just had this kind of like, I had this sort of problem, like, well, I've got traffic. Surely I can do something with that. So I put this little, we had this little black global tracker that we put on it, and it was a free piece of code, and most people would ignore it. But if you clicked it, it would show you where all your traffic's coming from, and it would show you how many clicks. So, and I noticed I was getting all this traffic in this place in Arizona in the States. And it was kind of funny because I was like, when I went and looked on google.com, because we had .co.uk in the UK, I could see that for Arizona, I was ranking for every single keyword to do with weddings. So I was literally dominating. So I just literally looked at who was on Google, and I just reached out, emailed everybody. And then this one company said, look, if you send us the traffic, none of them wanted to pay me anything, which is kind of understandable because they didn't really know if it was going to be valuable to their business. But what they said was, if you actually send us the traffic and somebody books something, we'll pay you a commission to your PayPal. I was like, okay, that sounds fair. So I sent them the traffic, and then they, and then my PayPal account had like $350 sitting in it a few days later. And I was like, where's that come from? I couldn't really remember. And I was kind of about to close my business. I was kind of like, I thought, well, this is it. And then I found out it was from this company, and they said, no, somebody's actually booked a full wedding package, which is 35 grand. And they've paid a 10% deposit, which is 3,500, and we've paid you 10% commission. So you've got another to make up the rest to a 3,500. And they said, and people generally don't cancel weddings, so you're going to get that. And I was like, whoa, you know. And then I realized I didn't realize that till years later, but at the time I'd actually discovered affiliate marketing in a very crude sort of primitive format. And that's kind of what got me hooked. And then I was ranking all these websites. What we actually did was, that first website, we duplicated it. So because we realized it took about 3 months to get it at the top of Google, but it was super easy. All we actually had to do was put the website up and add it to some directories. And there was all these directories that you could add it to. I think AOL had one, Yahoo had one. And there was actually a bit of software that was free. You could just like literally submit it to all these directories, all these search engines, and then that would give it enough authority to rank. And because most people kind of hadn't figured this much out at this point, it would make you rank like everywhere. And if you put the right code, we'd put some hidden code on the page. And it would rank for anything we'd written in that hidden code, right? Because that's how you could do it. Yeah. But and we realized that we could duplicate these websites in about 2 hours, and we could change the niche. We'd change obviously what's on the website. We'd keep the same template, but we would just literally drop in images for different niches, change the text. And then instead of doing affiliate marketing, because there was no tracking and it was all done on honesty, and, you know, like the company we were working with for the wedding planning was actually like, they were paying us a lot of money. So they were doing everything. Yeah. As far as I know, they were actually quite honest. But obviously that's not always going to be the case. So we were like, well, how can we make this a business that's, you know, going to work for us? And I took on a chap called Lee. There was just me and Lee. I moved down to Brighton. Actually, I moved to Newquay for a year, which is like surfing town. And then I moved to Brighton. And then what we were doing, we were duplicating these websites and changing the niche, changing everything. It was taking us about 2 hours. We'd wait about 3 months for it to rank, but we would be doing like 3 or 4 of these a day. And then when they would mature, we'd put them up for sale. And what we noticed is that when we put them up for sale, we could sell these things at 4 times whatever they were worth to somebody. So if somebody came to us and said, look, you know, we would ask them a few questions, and we'd find out how much money they would make from a certain amount of traffic or a certain amount of, you know, clients contacting them or whatever. And if we could work out it was worth 4 times as much, we could sell it for a quarter, and that would be a no-brainer for them. So we were selling these things for like £15,000, £20,000. That was our sort of average. And it was literally 2 hours work. So we would buy the domain, duplicate, add it to directories, wait 3 months, and we would just kept doing this. And obviously, as time went on, there was 3 penalty slaps. They had Panda, Penguin, and then the Hummingbird, which were the 3 Google penalty slaps. And the reason they had them is because obviously Google were getting gamed by everybody in the industry. And what that meant was is that when you went to Google back in the day and you put in a search for something you were looking for, you wouldn't find that. You'd find anything that anyone had decided to put there. And Google's only got one motivation, right? They want to stay the #1 search engine. And I was on holiday and I had friends saying, look, I'm leaving Google. It's just not working the way we expect. So when they did that with my websites, they, like, the first one knocked us down to page 3 or 4, and the second one was like page 5 or 6, and then we'd fight our way back. And then the Hummingbird delisted our entire network and all my clients' network. So I even got a few lawsuits as well. People tried to sue me because they were like, well, you've sold us this website and it's gone. And there was a thing called footprints. So Google had basically delisted everything. And then I was stuck. So this was around 2007, 2008. And I literally was like, well, it might have been a bit later, actually. I think it might have been 2009. But I was literally left with no business. And I had to let my one employee Lee go. And I nearly lost the roof over my head. And I was kind of trying all different types of things. I was throwing spaghetti at every wall, like I tried drop shipping, I tried coaching, I tried all these different things, and I couldn't get anything to work. Because the one thing that was kind of always made business possible for me was being able to tap into a free source of traffic. And without that, I couldn't seem to get anything to work. And then, that kind of led me on. That's why when I noticed the videos showing up on the front page of Google in 2017 in April, I was like, that's going to save my business. And, and then when I found out they were free and they were organic, and we could have, like, they had a carousel at the time. They've now got like a 4-pack, but you could go left and right, and you could literally have them all. You could, as long as you gave Google what it wanted, and you didn't have to play any of these black hat strategies that everyone was doing to game Google. You just worked with Google. Google wanted to put videos there because they'd already anticipated that everything was going to be video in the next few years anyway. And that was kind of then the start of my new adventure of, like, figuring out how to rank these YouTube videos.
And how are you doing with your business now, the kind of combination of affiliate marketing and the online courses? Is there
so I mean, I do less of the affiliate marketing now. I have a course which is called the Affiliate Tube Success Academy. So that shows people how to do affiliate marketing the way I did it, using this system. So, but what I've now transitioned is to being an online coach. So we now have 4 courses, and they do different types of things. We have one for affiliate launches. We have one we're just building one at the moment for helping people get clients. And we have the Affiliate Tube Success Academy. And then we have a free course, which is our 24-hour ranking system. And I've now got a mastermind as well. So I now have private coaching clients, and it's full on. And last week, I think I created 26 videos for my new course. So it's all hands to the grindstone at the moment, but I love it, right? So
that's brilliant. And then how are you doing now? So kind of you had that first little bit where you were selling websites for like 20,000 quid, and that's quite impressive. But how much are you making from your courses and that kind of ecosystem you've got?
Yeah. So we do, at the moment, we're about $3.2 million in annual revenue. Last year we had, because what actually happened was we were doing okay. I was putting up videos, obviously making, a little bit of business from transitioning from affiliate marketing to coaching. And we were selling online courses via the YouTube organic strategy. I rarely spend money on ads. I've only actually spent about $12,000 on ads. I haven't actually run a single ad in the last 12 months.
That's brilliant.
But then what happened was obviously we had the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, everybody got really scared and they were losing their jobs, or they were kind of like facing losing their job. And a lot of attention then went online, and suddenly my business kind of exploded. And I actually got got the attention of, because I was one of the top affiliates for some of the biggest products that I was promoting in my industry. I got the attention of the owners of them. I didn't know them before that, and then they brought me on with their audiences. And now I use the YouTube strategies, but I've also grown quite a big email list. So using my email list, and also affiliate, like obviously we do like JV partnerships. So about once a month, you know, somebody will promote my webinar, then I'll promote theirs. So it's kind of like a mix mash, but I would say the main source of my traffic now is via my list and YouTube. YouTube's obviously the starting point, but as I've grown my authority a little bit, then I've kind of started working with partners and things like that. And obviously I've now got, because you work with partners, you grow your list that way as well. Yeah. So you've got massive, well, I say massive, it's actually quite small, but it's a very engaged email list, which obviously means that we have a really strong audience. And that's because what we actually do is we build these funnels that that actually help push traffic back to YouTube and build know, like, and trust. So that means that when somebody does join our system, they get to know you quite a bit, rather than seeing an ad, seeing something and then opting in and then getting an email from you a week later and thinking, I don't remember that, right?
Yeah.
So we tend to have that relationship because we're using YouTube, and obviously a lot of our stuff is building that relationship via YouTube. Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant one. And now to dig a little bit more into how you're working to rank on Google with those videos, which I think is awesome and a great way of kind of accessing free versions of what an ad would be.
Yeah.
Why did you stop using Google Ads? And do you advise that a small business starts with a paid ad strategy? Because I know content marketing it's king and it'll keep going, and but it's more of a slow burn strategy. And I know a lot of small businesses kind of start and they need something to keep them going. So what do you advise?
Yeah. Okay, so I was reading a book about 10 years ago from Richard Branson, and he basically started his airline by he calls it protecting the downside, right? So what he did was instead of he had a record company which was worth about 30 million, I think it's dollars, it might have been pounds, but it was worth about 30 million, and then a Boeing 747 at the time would have cost him 30 million. So for him to start his airline, he was going to have to bet the farm, right? He was going to have to secure it against that. And obviously everybody at his record company was threatening to leave, and he was like up in arms. And he said, well, look, I'm going to protect the downside. So he got a directory and he phoned every single person who worked at Boeing until he got one person to hire him a plane, effectively charter a plane for 12 months, right?
Yeah.
And obviously costs involved. But what that meant is at the end of 12 months, he could hand the plane back. And what we see in business is a lot of people, and again, I've learned this through trial and error, because I've spent a lot of money on ads. I've spent a lot of money on all sorts of stuff. But what we see is a very similar pattern. What a lot of people do is they'll want to quit their 9 to 5, or they want to start a business, and they'll have a budget, right? They'll have a cash pot. Yeah. And that might have $10,000 in it, 20,000. It might have more, might have less. And that's going to be the make or break, right? So that cash pot is going to be what gets them going. And what generally tends to happen is that a lot of that will go on marketing. So they'll do Facebook ads, or they'll do Google ads, or they'll hire an agency, and a good agency might cost them $5,000 a month, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll lock you in for 3 months, and they'll have a setup fee. So, you know, and you can go it alone, but then obviously it's a little bit more touch and go. Yeah. And what actually generally tends to happen is that people get burnt out before they actually start to get success. And this is why, I mean, if you want to go and sit, like anyone listening to this, obviously, if you want to go and sit in a room with Richard Branson, this is what he teaches, and he'll charge you $100,000 for the privilege, right? You can go and sit on Necker Island with him, and this is what he tells everyone to do. And he does this in every business that he goes into. He will protect the downside. And the way to protect the downside in business is obviously minimize your costs. And the best way that I know to minimize your costs is to get rid of your marketing costs. So the reason that this is such a powerful strategy is because right now, I mean, YouTube's obviously not the only platform, but I would say it's one of the only platforms that you can go and put something up and it can stay there for years. Like there's lots of organic strategies out there. Like, you know, obviously you can use TikTok's now going crazy with, you know, with organic strategies, but it tends to be 24-hour or reels. And YouTube have got YouTube Shorts again. That seems to be 24 hours. Facebook are now doing it as well, 24 hours. So a lot of these social media platforms will give you some traffic, some serious traffic, but only for a day. So it's kind of a grind. So what we found is that by utilizing YouTube and getting our products listed for ranking, we can have them there for years to come and effectively get free ads. And then the strategy that I recommend is doing that first, because you don't want to burn all your budget out. Go and get some sales, get your funnel proven, like get your product proven, get your funnel proven, do all your split testing with organic traffic. And because we can obviously put it now on the front page of Google, like we can do it that way, get in front of red hot buyers immediately, or prospects or clients or whatever it is you're doing. And then we get a buyers list, right? And then we take those to Google, we take those to Facebook, and we say, look, this is our buyers list. And they go, okay, here's some ads for people we think that look like that. And then you don't have to do all this crazy, you don't even have to hire an agency for that. It's kind of quite a much more straightforward process. And then that way, Facebook will give it a test. And we've done that. We've even done that with 1,000 buyers, and it hasn't worked. And you think if we'd have gone in like cold with Facebook, and we've already proven our funnel, we've already proven our test, but we've gone to Facebook with 1,000 buyers and it still wasn't profitable, then what we do is we will do that with a percentage of our profits. Like I usually recommend about 5%. So whatever you've made from that 1,000 products, you can take a 5% of 1 month of your profits, and then you can test it. And then if it works, you can obviously scale. If it doesn't, you haven't lost anything. In fact, you're 95% up anyway. And that's the way I kind of wanted to protect the downside. And when I started my first business, obviously I didn't have any money. So I had to kind of figure out a way to get in front of people without, so it's kind of that philosophy for me just came naturally because I didn't really have any other choice. But I think a lot of people, like what they'll do is they'll take their money at Facebook or Google, they'll burn it out on the marketing, and then they'll go, oh, it doesn't work. And it's not obviously that it didn't work. It's just that they didn't have the right strategy in place. And I think, you can pretty much guarantee your success if you protect the downside, because if that doesn't work, you can try that. If that doesn't work, you can try that. And so on, right? So you can carry on until something works without, putting yourself in a position where you can't do it anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And a much better idea, especially for people starting from scratch. I think they kind of don't realize that there are ways to do it without kind of sacrificing that little kitty that they've got, keeping them safe. Yeah. And I think people don't realize how much goes into all of this cost, and how much marketing actually costs, and how much you need to spend on it rather than what you can end up spending on it.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously I already mentioned the marketing. You've got software tools, you've got like costs, everything's got a cost now, right? So you can do things on a shoestring, and you can spend as much as you want, but that's without all that extra cost, which you generally would have anyway. So it's kind of, it can build up really fast,
Definitely. Now let's dig into a little bit of your affiliate marketing expertise. So my first question is, what is the biggest mistake that you see people making as affiliate marketers? What is the one thing that you see over and over again and you think that's a really foolish move, you're just throwing money away?
Yeah, good question. So let me think. A couple of things you can do. So first thing is, I think a lot of people, when they do affiliate marketing, so if I take YouTube as an example, because there's a lot of affiliate marketers on YouTube now, right? So people will focus on the tool, right? So the first thing is they'll say, get this tool and build all your funnels, get this tool and build all your landing pages, get this. But what does that actually mean to somebody who needs that tool? Well, nothing. It's just a tool, right? So I always say to people, like, and this is what I always try to approach, is like, what benefit is it going to be to them? So when you create your training or when you create your marketing, you want to think of like somebody who's going to see that for the first time is like, what do they need it for? And focus on that. Instead of focusing on the tool, focus on what they need it for. Now, the only time that I would focus on the tool, because we do it in 3 stages on YouTube. So we have the low hanging fruit, which is people searching for the tool and a review of it, right? Yeah. Now, those people obviously are looking for the tool because they already know about it. So for instance, if they were looking for Systeme.io, they're going to go Systeme.io review, right? Well, then I'm not going to come in and tell them why they need it at this stage, because they already know they need it, because that's what they've put in the search term, right? So it's kind of meeting people where they're at as well. So for that, I would say, right, you're looking for Systeme.io. Here's 5 things you can do with it. Here's my review. Here's what I think. Here's a link, right? Because that's what they've put in the search engine. But that's the low hanging fruit, right? Because that's where a lot of people go. And there's going to be a lot of people. That's going to be where your crowded market is as well. That's going to be where a lot of people are going to be pasting their videos. And that's not the best place to go. The best place to go is to go and start solving the problems, go and start helping them with things that they need. So I'll give you an example, for instance. Let's say, for instance, people always say, oh, will this get saturated? That's the biggest question I get asked. Is like, will this get saturated? And it will never get saturated because everything's searched for on Google, right? And the best example I give is that if I wanted to say, for instance, go and use Systeme.io to build a funnel for a restaurant, a local restaurant, right? I could walk around every restaurant in the UK and they probably wouldn't have heard of your software because they're running a restaurant. They're not interested in software. They're interested in running a restaurant, but they would need a funnel, right? So if I then go and start working out what restaurants are looking for on Google and YouTube to make more money to get their business open. I mean, we've had a pandemic, right? Restaurants are half full. So you would start looking at that. You would start going, how do I save my business? How do I not, how to use Systeme.io to create a restaurant business or to save your restaurant? Because that's not what they're going to be searching for because they won't know about the product. But then we can bring people to, and obviously that way we open that up. So we get much bigger search for volumes. Most people are not in that area. Yeah. And yet all of these restaurants need that problem solved, right? So that's kind of the biggest problem. Most people go for the low hanging fruit where all the noise is, and also not working out as well. Like especially with again, I see a lot of people doing this. When people put in a search term, they will put fluff in that video that they don't need, right? For instance, going back to the Systeme.io, like if somebody puts in Systeme.io review and I give them a review, if I start fluffing it out with, you can build this and you can do that and this, you can create this, you can create that. That's not really a review. That could be a tutorial, but somebody just wants to know what I think about it, right? That's really what they're looking at. They've already done all that. And if I start kind of not meeting them where they're at, they're going to be like, well, why, they'll probably just bounce away because they'll probably be thinking, well, actually, I just want to know what you think. And you're not giving me that. And I may have given that later on in the video anyway, but it's kind of keeping it concise and to the point. And I see a lot of videos where people will say, like, they'll spend 5 minutes telling you what they're going to do in the video, right? So they'll say for 5 minutes, they're going to say, in this video, I'm going to cover this. And in this video, I'm going to cover that, right? And then you wonder why, like, nobody watches your video all the way through because, like, people, we have short attention spans, right? If somebody puts in a search term, we want to meet them where they're at. And there's a good resource actually for doing this. Eugene Schwartz wrote a book called Breakthrough Advertising, which if you get a real copy of it, I think it's about $2,000. It's like really expensive, but you can get, you can actually go and buy, I think you can buy a PDF or something, legitimate one at a lot cheaper, but they have these kind of 5 stages of awareness and it's meeting people where they're at. And I've learned so much from that because if you don't meet people where they're at, then they're just going to leave. Right. Yeah. So I think it would be like meeting people where they're at and obviously opening up and solving problems and pain points that those people have is probably the biggest mistake I see. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think those are 2 great strategies to avoid those big mistakes because not only are you meeting the search intent, so it's more than just meeting them where they're at, you're meeting Google where it's looking for them. And then on top of that, you're making it benefit focused and helping people who aren't necessarily sure what they want, but know kind of what they need to achieve. And answering that pain point means that you'll skip all of that noise that's at the low hanging fruit, like you said. Right, now, let's talk a little bit about YouTube, your other big specialty where you lean in. So how did you go from 0 to 6,000 subscribers and then over 400,000 views, which I think is really, really impressive? Did you work with the algorithm? What did you do? What kind of strategies did you employ to grow your channel like that?
So I actually don't employ strategies on channel growth, funnily enough. So even though I have grown my channel, I think it's people find out about me and they come and follow. So my strategy is always ranking. And what that means is that obviously we're meeting people where they're at, where they're searching for, for whatever it is they're searching for, but that's where we want the view. And I know there's a lot of strategies out there for growth and for growing big channels and for running ads. And I'll just share one thing, right? The reason we focus on that strategy, right, is if you get to 1,000 subscribers on your channel, right, and you get 4,000 hours to watch time, you're allowed to become a partner with Google, and they will let you run ads, right? And most of the strategies out there, most of the YouTube strategies out there teach this. And I'm actually against that, right? Because I'm not against it, but I just think it's a harder strategy, because I think what you've got to do here, we did a case study recently where somebody shared how much money she'd made from a video that had 1 million views. And there's kind of 2 ways to get 1 million views consistently on your videos. One is to have a massive channel with 1 million subscribers plus, which when you actually go and break that down, like how many people in your niche have got more than 1 million subscribers? There's probably about 10, 15, maybe 20.
Yeah.
So these are kind of the famous people in your niche, right? And to get there, you've got to be posting really consistently, thinking outside the box, coming up with new content, burning out in a lot of cases, right? So that's one way of doing it. And the other way is just to have a random video that goes viral, and there's no way to obviously plan for that, because you never know what's gonna work, right? So they're the 2 main ways. And she made $1,400 for a video. And I did a case study with one of my videos for a product I was promoting, a webinar product. And that product, we had 1,000 views, and we were getting 10 to 15 signups a day for the free trial. And we were getting around about a 20% retention. So once we had 7 sales, we'd made the same amount of money. And it's because obviously with 1,000 views, those are not views, those are buyers, because we were ranking for the term webinar jam trial. So we were ranking for the product for the trial, which meant that whoever landed on that video, quite often they wouldn't watch it. They would just click the link, right? We'd make sure the link was visible and they would click it. So we were making more money on that video. And the other thing as well is that when you obviously optimize, you're going into that big red ocean, right? You're optimizing your channel to grow it, run ads. But what a lot of people don't realize when they do that is that when somebody lands on your video and you've got an ad running before it, right? There's a skip now button. So it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They're going to watch that ad, right? Now, if they don't press that skip now button, they're no longer on your ad, right? They're now on somebody else's video. So they're now not watching your ad. They're now taken away. And that person who's running that ad on your video, they get 30 seconds free advertising on your video before you actually get any money anyway. So they're going to get 30 seconds. And then after the 30 seconds, you get paid, right? So although that all sounds great, and if you're running big channels and you've got loads of videos, like, you know, say you're doing a video a day and they're all getting 1 million views, then $1,400 per video per day. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. But obviously that's like saying, if you're going to go and become a music artist and you're going to go on Spotify, are you going to become Ed Sheeran or Adele? Probably not, right? But that's what you need to get to the money that they've got in their banks, right? You know, I mean, that's probably not quite the same, but you kind of get the idea. That's kind of the way to look at it, because and you can do that. I wouldn't say you would, but I just don't think you should. I think this, because YouTube at the moment, if you get stuff ranking, it's going to make you so much more money, because no one's ever going to be taken away from your video, and they're going to have your link, and you want them at the end of your video because that's when they press the links. So if they do the skip now, they're not going to. I think she made from that video. It was actually, she's got a great channel. It's Shelby Church, and she's got an amazing channel. She's got millions of. She gets like 9 million views on her videos now. So she does make really well. But she posted this as an example of what you can make on one of your videos, and she showed like a screenshot, and she put that it was 822,000 monetized views. So 170,000 people were the people that actually saw her video. The rest were all taken away. And out of those monetized views, she wouldn't have got paid on every single view. She would have got paid after the 30 seconds. So yeah. So that's just one of the reasons why I don't focus on that, because, and a lot of people, and just to add a side note to this, people all say, well, aren't Google going to favor videos and make the videos go viral that have monetized views? And the answer is yes, but we're not looking for viral content. We're looking for ranking, and Google doesn't care about any of that for ranking. So I always get that as a sub question. So I thought I'd just throw that in, because I know somebody listening probably thinking, oh yeah, but surely if you run ads, you're going to get a little bit more love from YouTube. You will for viral content, yeah, because they want to be showing more ads.
But on Google,
but we don't make any more money from viral content anyway, you know. So it's just not a strategy we focus on.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So you talked a little bit about how you use YouTube and what you're actually doing to get your videos to rank rather than just go viral. And I think that's a much more sustainable strategy for any small business, because you're like you said, there's no guarantee of you going viral. You don't necessarily have a formula that you can follow to go viral. But the way that you use YouTube to rank and to answer that search intent is actually something that is much more predictable. So a lot more useful for someone online. Now, my next question for you about video is, how do you use that content again? So obviously, depending on the way that you're using video content, you can put a lot of time and effort into it. It takes time to edit. You want to invest in better hardware so that you sound better, it looks better, it's got to be well lit, that kind of thing. And you can get away with stuff that's quite simple on your phone, but quite a few people actually prefer the higher quality content, especially if you're planning to turn it into a course or something. So where else can you use that content?
Yeah, good question. I mean, basically, I personally would recommend, first of all, obviously going all in on one platform and nailing that. But like you say, obviously, we're going to be creating a lot of video content, and a lot of people are creating high quality content. They're putting a lot of work into it. And one of the strategies we're looking at, certainly, for repurposing at the very least, obviously, because these are such powerful strategies, is perhaps like chopping them up into 1 minute reels. And then what we could do is go for YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, I think it's called. Facebook, I think I've just called it Reels as well. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. And then you've got TikTok as well, right? And all of those platforms, obviously, if you've got, videos that you can chop up into kind of, I think some of them you could even do like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever, right? And then you can repurpose them across all of your platforms. And sometimes what I will do is post, like the YouTube video that I've created, I'll post that on my Facebook anyway. And sometimes I just run ads to that on Facebook, right? So, if I'm doing a test or if I'm doing a broad audience, I might just run it just to see if it kind of gets people opting into funnels and things like that. And, but generally speaking, I stick to just one platform. So, this is something that obviously we will develop moving forward. But I think, like, if people are kind of thinking like, oh, I want to get this video and I want to purpose it everywhere, I would honestly recommend just nailing one platform first, make sure everything's working as it should. And then, obviously it would make sense to do that. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, to expand and kind of keep using the content that you've already created. And I think it's a great idea to, like you said, nail one platform to kind of get really good at something, so that when you're experimenting with something new, you have something to fall back on. You already know the video is going to do well on YouTube, so you can try it out on TikTok and see how that platform works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And now I've got one last big question for you. So what does the future look like for you? What is your next big launch? What are you looking to do next?
Okay, so at the moment we've just opened up our mastermind, and for the first year I'm going to be serving 30 people personally, working closely with. Then we're looking to double that next year, and then get that up to about 9,900 in year 3. So that's kind of the plan at the moment, is to kind of have, because the thing is, obviously, when you work, we've got 7,000 students in our courses, and when you work with 7,000 people, sometimes people want to be able to work closer with you. So kind of makes sense to offer that as a service. So we're doing that at the moment, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. And at the moment I'm building out my new course, which is called Tube Clients, and that is basically showing people how to basically get clients, work with one-to-one or as a coach, or even, they could even transfer that into an online course. So, and that's a lot of fun, because that's kind of how I developed my system. From being an affiliate marketer, I went from doing that to literally developing this system for myself, right? So I'm kind of now able to offer that to people and show people that. My long-term strategy, I never really have one. It's kind of funny. I mean, at the moment, obviously I have a monetary thing, maybe get to $10 million a year. That would be nice. But in all honesty, it's more of a marker than anything. It doesn't represent anything really to me, because I don't really work on money, but I work on that as a marker, right? It's kind of a good marker to kind of set like your goals. But yeah, just to live life, be happy, have quit. I always wanted to quit the 9 to 5. When when I was in my 20s, I wanted to do it, and then I started it when I was 30, because I didn't want to have I didn't want to have all that stress, right? And I've had a much easier life since I started my first business. But the one thing that always makes me laugh, I saw someone post this the other day, and it does make me laugh, is that you say you quit the 9 to 5 to work 80 hours a week. But the one great thing is that you're doing the job you want to do, right? And it's not really work, because it's all good fun. So yeah, I love it. I'm just looking forward to the future. I have no idea where that's going to be in a year or 2 years from now, but I would just like to keep serving, keep helping, and yeah, just enjoying my life and enjoying everything that comes with that. So yeah.
That's brilliant. All right, now 2 very short questions. My first one for you is, looking back, is there one piece of advice that you would give to your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, you don't know it all. I was a cocky little 18-year-old, and I was told, I don't know. I left school. I mean, I worked for 6 years in insurance on a very low paid job. I've got some very cherished memories of doing that. But if I had a little bit more knowledge, I probably wouldn't do that. So I would obviously give myself some advice about that, and maybe, start your business a bit earlier, because it's going to be okay. You don't need to wait till you're 30 years old. That was just a kind of mindset I gave myself. But other than that, just carry on. You're doing all right. You're going to be okay. I used to worry about things a lot more than I do now. So I would just say, don't worry so much. You'll be all right. And stop telling everyone I remember when I was about 25 years old, someone asked me a question and I said, I don't know. And it was like a revelation. Oh, I'm allowed to say I don't know. It was like, it took me till about 25 years old before I realized that I didn't know everything. And it was okay, Yeah. So just a couple of bits of advice. That was a good question. I like that.
Thank you. And then my last question for you is, where can our listeners find you? If you give me your social media tags or your website or any of that, I will put the links in our description.
Yeah, if you just go to, the best thing to do is to go to claimfreeads.com. So that's my website, and that'll basically get them into the funnel. And they will obviously, that will then give them a free 10-day course that's going to basically show them everything they need to know about getting on the front page of Google. And also we have they'll be able to get a free free membership with us as well. And we have weekly group coaching that they get. So if they go to Claim Free Ads, they opt into that, then they'll get everything sent to them. So yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Paul, thank you so much for joining me and for giving me your time. And thank you to our listeners today. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us on a podcasting app, subscribe to the Systeme.io podcast so that you never miss an episode. Systeme is a digital marketing software platform packed with all the tools you need to run your online business.